Welcome class, this is lesson 9.1 for Algebra 2. Today we're going to talk about right triangle trigonometry. Some of you have seen this in geometry a little bit last year, but don't worry, we're going to relearn it all if you forgot any of this. So our main goal today is to identify the 6 trig functions of a right triangle. Have your student journals ready? The examples are going to be in your student journal. Okay. Start with page 242. This is exploration 1. In exploration 1, they want you to set up the sine, cosine, and tangent functions of a 30-degree, a 60-degree, and a 45-degree triangle. Go ahead and pause this video. I really do want you to try this so that you can self-check and then start the video again when you're ready to check. As a reminder, here is the relationship for sine, cosine, and tangent. This is also in your student journal already on page 243. So let's check some answers from this point. So standing at the 30-degree angle, the opposite side to this 30-degree angle is the side length of 1, and the hypotenuse side is across from the 90-degree, so that is 2, and sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the trig value is 1/2. Cosine, again standing at 30 degrees, is the adjacent side, which is the leg that is touching that angle, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 2. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. So opposite is 1, square root of 3 is adjacent. Remember to not leave radicals under the denominator, so always rationalize that denominator. So multiply top and bottom by that square root of 3. The bottom is 3, and the top is square root. Again, if you haven't tried the fractions for 60 or 45, pause this video, please, and go ahead and give it a try before you play the video again. All right, check your answers for sine and the 45 as well. Okay, so now we pull our attention to 60 degrees here. The opposite side to 60 degree is now square root of 3. Hypotenuse is 2. So that's why it looks like this. Square root of 3 is on top, hypotenuse is 2. Standing at 60, adjacent is 1, hypotenuse is 2. And tangent, opposite over adjacent. Opposite side, divide by adjacent side. Okay. Always rationalize your denominator so you never leave square roots on the bottom. All right. Let's get to some examples. So on page 244, we're jumping to 244. You had these core concepts already in your student journal. It's all the relationships. So here's the opposite of hypotenuse, cosine, adjacent of hypotenuse, and tangent, toa, opposite over adjacent. Here are 3 other trig functions. This is cosecant, secant, and cotangent. The relationship of these, if you can see, they're just reciprocals. Sine and cosecant are reciprocals of each other. So if I know the value for sine, opposite over hypotenuse, I can take the reciprocal, hypotenuse over opposite, and that's the fraction or ratio that represents that cosecant value. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine, and tangent is the reciprocal cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. So these are reciprocals of each other. Okay, so we're going to identify all 6 trig functions of an angle. Let's go straight to page 246 and look at example 1. We are going to do both examples 1 and 2. I'm just using the whole slide to do this. So do write small when you're doing this problem. Okay. To evaluate, so find the value of 6 trig functions, we do need all 3 sides. So first we're going to identify what this missing side is. That's why we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. Remember, hypotenuse is across from that 90-degree corner. Use your calculator to find these values. Add them up. Now always do try to square root the value, and if that square root value comes out as a decimal, you want to use jailbreak. You want to leave exact values, so no decimals in our triangle. This one came out to exactly 17. Now we're ready to set up our 6 trig functions. Okay, here are the 6 relationships again. I'm going to concentrate on sine, cosine, and tangent. And once I get those fractions right next to there, this is the reciprocal of sine, secant is the reciprocal of cosine, and cotangent is the reciprocal. How I like to remember this is that I know these are, I call them flip me buddies. Sine and the reciprocal of it, sine starts with an S, the reciprocal of it doesn't. It starts with a C. And then cosine is a C, so the reciprocal of that doesn't start with a C. So I know which one goes with which, okay? So let's start setting this up. Standing at this angle, so I put my dot right here to focus on that spot right here. Sometimes it helps to label the hypotenuse first. So across from the 90-degree corner is my hypotenuse. The leg that is touching that angle is the adjacent side. Adjacent means next to. So when you have an angle adjacent, you're next to, or you're sitting next to a partner, that is adjacent to you. And the side way across is your opposite side. All right, let's set it up. Sine is opposite side over hypotenuse side. So the opposite side is 15, hypotenuse is 17. Always reduce the fraction if you can. If you can't, just leave it as it is. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. And if you can't reduce, you can leave it as that improper fraction. Okay. All right, we're done. Those are the three. Now let's find those flip me buddies. Cosecant is the reciprocal of this sign, so I'm going to take the reciprocal of that fraction. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine, and tangent is the reciprocal of that. Okay. That's it. To find the value of 6 trig functions, you're going to find the fraction that it represents. Okay, we're going to try number 2. Again, write small. This is you try. So please pause the video, walk through all the steps just like we did before, and then replay the video when you're ready to check. All right, did you find that missing side first? Pythagorean theorem will help. Were you careful and labeled the hypotenuse 8? So that was your C. From there, you do need to subtract that 16. And jailbreak. Square root of 48 is not a perfect square. So jailbreak, do a tree, find your perfect pairs, and jailbreak. Now let's set up the 6. Label hypotenuse, the adjacent side, and the opposite side. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Reduce the fraction, please. Cosine's adjacent over hypotenuse. For here, when you reduce, be careful. You can't reduce with numbers under the radical, but you can reduce in front and below. So 4 and 8 does reduce to 1/2. And tangent is the opposite side over adjacent side. Now I can reduce the 4s. So 4 divided by 4, here's 1. But you can't leave square roots on the bottom. So let's multiply top and bottom by the square root of 3. So the bottom is square root of 9, which is 3. And the top, we have square root of 3. Remember, the 4's reduced to 1, so that's why they're gone. All right, let's find all these flip me buddies. Cosecant is the reciprocal of that, so flip it over, and I see 2. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so I'm going to take the reciprocal and rationalize that denominator for me. No square roots on the bottom. Multiply top and bottom by that square root of 3. Squeeze the top together. And cotangent, instead of taking the reciprocal of the final answer, take the reciprocal of what we had before. So the 4's reduce, so I have 1 on top, and if I take the reciprocal, the 4's cancel. So I only have square root of 3 left. So sometimes it's better to take the reciprocal of this answer. That way square root is already on top. Okay. All right, how did you do? All right, we're going to continue. For problems 3 and 4, we are going to do 4 as well, and this is a long problem, so please write in the smallest handwriting as possible. If you need to do this on a separate sheet of paper, please do so, okay? All right, for this one, we're going to sketch a little triangle. Just draw a tiny triangle for me, please, and we're going to label this as tangent, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. So from that angle, the opposite side, I'm going to label as 1. Adjacent side is 1, because 1 divided by 1 is 1. And the goal here is to find the other 5 trig functions. So basically those 6 again. So I do need that third side again. So Pythagorean theorem, let's find that third missing side. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And now we're going to set up our 6. Remember, we're still going to do problem number 4. So write this really, really small on the left side where problem 3 is. Okay? Opposite side over hypotenuse. Rationalize that denominator, top and bottom, by square root of 2. If you notice, cosine actually is the same thing. It's still 1 divided by. So I'm going to get the same answer. Tangent, opposite over adjacent, or they actually told us the value of tangent already. All right, here are all the flip me buddies. The other 3 trig functions are reciprocals. So instead of taking the reciprocal of this final answer, I'm going to take the reciprocal of this starting one. And so it's the reciprocal square root of 2 over 1. Secant is the same, and reciprocal 1 is still 1. Okay? Number 4 is your turn. So pause the video, give it a try, draw a triangle first, and then restart the video and check your work. All right, did you start by drawing a triangle? Sine is opposite side over hypotenuse, so label the opposite side 3, hypotenuse 19, and then find that missing side. Did you leave C as 19? And you're going to subtract 9 on both sides. Try to jailbreak. Square root of 352 is not perfect, so you're going to jailbreak this. All right. Label the hypotenuse, the adjacent, and the opposite side. They gave us the value of sine already. We're going to find the other 5. I can't reduce this, so leave that fraction. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. Remember, you can't leave square roots on the bottom, so multiply top and bottom by square root of 22. On the bottom, 22 will come out times 4. Don't forget that times 4 in the front. The top you squeeze together. All right. Check the other 3. You want to take the reciprocals. You could pause the video and get caught up on all these problems too. Okay? All right. We have 2 more types of problems to do. This is finding the missing value. So for here, the target is at 30 degrees. For this problem, they give us the value of the hypotenuse. They give us the side that we're looking for, x. And there's nothing on this third side over here, so I'm not going to label that at all because there's nothing, no number, no missing value, so don't label it opposite, even though it is. If you look at sine, cosine, and tangent, you want to see which of those use hypotenuse and adjacent together. So if you write so, ka, and toa, you would see adjacent over hypotenuse is cosine. So we're going to use cosine to solve this. All right. So we're standing at the 30-degree angle. So the angle that's what the theta mark is. The angle goes right here. The adjacent side is the missing x. So I'm going to replace A, the adjacent side, with x. And the hypotenuse is 16. Cosine of 30 is actually a number in your calculator. We're going to use our calculator, so go find it real quick. This is x divided by 16. I want to solve for x. So opposite of divide is times. We're going to multiply both sides by 16. Now, before you try this in your calculator, make sure your calculator is in degree mode. If you have a graphic calculator, go to mode. The third one down, make sure it's not radian, it's degree. So go down to degree, hit enter, and then your calculator will be in degree mode. Type this in your calculator, 16 times cosine 30, and then hit enter. If you did it correctly, you should get 13.86. Okay? If you didn't get this, again, double check your mode. You're probably in radian. Okay? All right. Let's try number 6. Or you can try this on your own. Pause the video and then double check your work. All right. Label the hypotenuse, the unknown, The side across here is opposite, and I'm purposely not going to label this side because there's nothing there. Now looking at our choices, sine, cosine, and tangent, it's hypotenuse and opposite together. So that's sine, opposite over hypotenuse. Let's substitute some numbers. So we're standing at the 45 degree. The angle goes inside right here. So sine of 45. The opposite side is 20. And the hypotenuse is x, the what we don't know. When you have letters on the bottom, I do recommend cross multiplying. So I'm going to stick a 1 under that sign. I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to do x times sine of 45 and then 1 times 20. So cross multiplying. And then from here, it's x times sine. So I'm going to divide both sides by sine of 45. And now let's use our calculator. This side will cancel. Type in 20 divided by sine of 45. Check your calculator and make sure you get this value. Okay, all right, that's the end of our notes. Remember, you can always replay the video if you need to refer this while you're doing your assignment.